I'd buy that for $1.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the VGWA. I'm Cobrettie.
And this is Wally.
And come join us today as we look at the top 10 budget wrestling video games. But first, do not like and subscribe. Go and donate. If you are able to, we would like for you to donate $5 to the Pew family in their time of need. For this list, we'll be looking at the games that can be easily obtained for less than $20, including shipping. We will be limiting games to a single title in a series, as to not have a whole list comprised of Fire Pro Wrestling. And that also means we are limiting titles to one apiece for Aki and Man Breeze. Number 10, UWC, unreleased for the NES in 1989. Excuse me, how much for this video game? For you, free. Take it. Nothing in America is free.
UWC is.
What better way to start out a top 10 list with a game that's free? A big special shout out goes to Stefan Reese, who obtained this game and could have kept it to himself, but worked together with the Video Game History Foundation to make sure this got preserved. From those who game, we salute you. The only complaint you could really have with this game is that we never really got to see its true potential. If I'm not mistaken, which quite often I am, this is the only video game where you can play as sweet Stan Lane and beautiful Bobby Eaton. There is no information available online onto how to play this game, so in a way, it's kind of like a bonus puzzle game. Maybe in the future, we will put together an instructional video for UWC. If that is something you would like to see, let us know in the comments below.
Number 9, Big Bang Pro Wrestling on the Neo Geo Pocket Color. Wait a minute, I meant the Nintendo Switch. When we started the budget video game list, I was super excited for Big Bang Pro Wrestling, as it was only $8 on the Nintendo Switch. Then after doing research, I realized that the Neo Geo Pocket Color was almost $300 and as low as $100. So I thought, I'm already saving money. Then I checked the price for the video game itself. Big Bang Pro Wrestling was going anywhere from $400 to $700. After seeing that, my face was in shock. It was like the music hitting from a wrestler who's been out for a year, and they were on their way to the ring. And we all know I was on the end of an ass whooping. So other than cost, why is this a good budget game? Why would you buy it for $8? It's one of those games where you can pick up and play with only 2 buttons, one to take action and one to taunt. With only one button, you can bounce off the ropes, you can go outside the ring, you can even complete a finishing move. It may have some problems, it may not be the best graphics, but for $8, you can have fun with this for hours. So save $792 and pick up Big Bang Pro Wrestling for the Nintendo Switch. Cost doesn't include Nintendo Switch.
Bang!
Number 8, WWF Smackdown 2, Know Your Role for the PS1. Available for $8 or less. Some reason, the first Smackdown on PS1 cost more than Smackdown 2. Why pay more money for an inferior version when you can get the superior version of Smackdown 2 with the people's eyebrow animated to its full glory? Don't blink or you'll miss it. After a slew of dreadful WWF game releases from Acclaim, THQ and Ukes gave us a video game series worthy of the PS1. N64 games got to bask in all the glory, but the faster-paced arcade styles of the WWF Smackdown series for PS1 are fun in their own way. Is Know Your Role as good as Here Comes the Pain? No. But is it cheaper than a run to McDonald's? Yes.
Number 7, Backyard Wrestling for the original Xbox. I get it, you're questioning this. Why Backyard Pro Wrestling? And on the original Xbox? Well, good listeners, it has to do with price. We're talking about budget games. And the original Xbox version comes in at a low $10. Unlike other wrestling games on this list, you can actually wrestle out in the backyard. There are arenas, but the main goal on this is just using all environmental destruction to destroy each other. There's some raunch in it, yes, but it is still wrestling. One of the best parts is the mode talk show. It reminds me of an epic show that I used to watch at a younger age, the Jerry Springer Show. Jerry, Jerry, Jerry. Now who could go wrong with a game that has that in it?
You are wrong because you should pick number 2 for the soundtrack. Welcome to the Cobrettie Shopping Network, where our prices are insane! Only if you act now, you'll be able to receive the Backyard Wrestling soundtrack. Operators are standing by. Featuring a variety of musical talent, including that kooky cool Keith himself, those scumdogs of the universe, Gwar, and the pop-punk musical stylings of Fall Out Boy. Receive all this and more for the low, low price of $10. But wait, there's more! Act now, and we'll throw in a wrestling game. Prices and participation may vary. See your local VGWA for details. Void where prohibited. Available in the continental United States, except for Rhode Island. Do not take backyard wrestling if you're allergic to backyard wrestling. Number 6. WWE Wrestlemania 19 for the GameCube. Available for $20 or less. We are allowing 2 Ukes games to be on this list because each series has its own unique game engine. The gameplay mechanics are a good mixture of a cross between the Aki system along with the Smackdown system. And honestly, I prefer the GameCube engine over the PS1 Smackdown engine, but it comes at a cost, with this game costing twice as much as Smackdown. Wrestlemania 19 was chosen because it was at the cusp of our maximum allowed cost. Both Day of Reckonings were just outside the cost limit. There is a feature that makes Wrestlemania 19 a very good choice for a budget game. A tutorial provided with this game, meaning that you do not need to have the manual and can buy a disc-only version. The roster is amazing, giving you the opportunity to play as both the Attitude Era superstars and the Ruthless Aggression superstars. And remember, when budget gaming, the Nintendo Wii is also backwards compatible with the GameCube.
Number 5. Lucha Libre AAA Heroes del Ring on the PS3. Coming in at $11, I believe you're getting one of the best underrated wrestling video games out there. Why give such a mediocre game such high praise? I'll tell you, though it was slow-paced, the wrestling mechanics were really good. I understand, it's Lucha Libre. It should go 120 miles an hour. But still, the mechanics and the gameplay are fun, and you have 40 wrestlers from Mexico. Even though there's a lot of similarities between this and other WWE games. But you have to give it credit, because it was up against games like Smackdown vs. Raw 2011, and it had to prove itself. So why not be similar? So do your Hurricanrana, your moonsault leg drop, your reverse Frankensteiner, and your diving splash, and pick up Lucha Libre.
Yes, I agree. Pick up Lucha Libre, because the chairman La Parka commands you to. Number 4. WWF Raw. Available for the Genesis for $11 and $15 for the Super Nintendo. Hello, my name is Cobrettie, and I like LJN games. The last of the WWF Tug-of-War series of games came out at the pinnacle of the WWF New Generation era. I know that may sound like an oxymoron, but I really loved that era of wrestling. This is another game that is easy to recommend as a budget game because the controls are very intuitive and pick up and play friendly, that you can get a cart-only version and not need the manual. Luna Vachon, Owen Hart, Doink the Clown, the 1-2-3 Kid. At its time of release, this was the most eclectic roster of wrestlers available in a US video game. I didn't like the new inclusion of the Mega Moves, but it does have a certain kitsch that was rampant at that time. So for nostalgic reasons, I think I enjoyed the Mega Moves now more than I did back then. The same cannot be said for Pogs. Unlike the previous releases of LJN games, both the roster on the Super Nintendo and the Sega Genesis are the same. So feel free to pick up whichever one you can find cheaper because the gameplay experience is very similar. The main difference goes back to the old argument of which system had the better sound chip, the Super Nintendo or the Sega Genesis. Me personally, I prefer the Super Nintendo version.
Number 3, WCW versus the World on the PS1. After waiting hours to watch a single 2-minute clip, I was so excited when it came out. And even to this day, the game does not disappoint. With 60 wrestlers in the game from WCW and fictional characters, you had a wide array of moves you could pull off within the game, such as the Scorpion Deathlock, the Torture Rack, the Figure 4, woo! And the infamous Leg Drop. With 6 different game types and multiplayer, the game is just fantastic. The mechanics really draw you into the wrestling feel. So, for $11, go pick it up. It is a classic you shouldn't miss.
Number 2, Fire Pro Wrestling returns for the PS2. Available for $10 or less. With a massive roster of 352 wrestlers, the game price to wrestler ratio results in pennies. They say that the WWE sells you the experience, the excitement, the sizzle to the steak for their wrestling product, including video games, long drawn-out entrances, storylines that lead to character development, and fiery promos. The Fire Pro Wrestling series is none of that, and it's a good thing. Instead, you get a raw, uncooked steak from one of the prized and pampered cows that have been massaged its whole life, resulting with excellent core gameplay with absolutely no frills. For those of you who may not be familiar with the Fire Pro system, there is no grapple button. Instead, grapples are initiated when wrestlers get within a certain distance to each other. This game is all about timing. I am actually horrible at those action games that require you to dodge just at the last minute for one of those perfect escapes because you're supposed to recognize the keyframes of the animation, but I did find myself being successful in playing the Fire Pro series. The gameplay does take a little bit to get used to, but don't let that deter you, because once you master it, it is insanely satisfying. Before we get to our number 1 pick, let's take a quick look at the honorable mentions that didn't quite make the list. Number 1, WCW NWO Revenge for the N64.
Number 1, WWF Wrestlemania 2000 on the N64.
Wally, what do you mean WrestleMania 2000? Are you out of your damn mind?
I don't think it has to do with all those chair shots to the head you gave me, so I'd say I'm pretty sane at this point.
Being a pair of Southern boys, you know that WCW is the only answer. They say that variety is the spice of life, so why not toss in another WCW game?
Well, for a Southern boy, you seem to have jumped on that fast train up to the New England area to be part of WWF. I do recall, even in this video, you have 2, count them, 2 WWF games.
Fine, you got me. So what if the majority of my games were WWF, WWE games? Yes, WrestleMania had more characters, a better creative wrestler, and a story mode.
And unfortunately, it did not have the Scorpion Deathlock.
But wouldn't you rather have that awesome generic entrance music?
So you're gonna sing for us in this video too?
Or hop back into your DeLorean and go back to the future and hook up your dial-up modem to listen to your favorite wrestler's entrance music because it sounds like it's going through real player.
And that is why WWF Wrestlemania 2000 is better. All because you know their entrance music.
And what about Raven?
Shouldn't that be Ahmed Johnson?
Okay, you got me. WrestleMania 2000 is the best budget game. Thank you for joining us today, and make sure to catch us next time as we review Muscle Tag Match for the Nintendo Entertainment System, and we discuss the differences between the NES and Famicom versions.